Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another installment of Leaders of Tomorrow Online. This time on the theme of learning to learn. This would be massively useful for pretty much anyone in whatever stage of their life, because after all, we never really stop learning. Now, I'm Kavishka. I'll be the Zoom host for today, which means I'll be overseeing all the technical aspects of this online session, and as the Zoom master I have a few requests to make from you. First off, as a courtesy to everyone, please keep yourselves muted. If you have any questions, we'll provide a way to ask questions, which I'll come to in a second. Do have yourself muted. And secondly, please switch off your video, because this will reduce the data usage for everyone all around. And since it's just the panelists who will be talking today, it's better to have your videos off. And after this, I'll be going around and switching everyone's videos off myself. And finally, if you do have any questions to ask from the panelists, this is how you can do it. There is a feature called the chat feature. If you're on a computer, there's a button on the bottom control bar. And if you're on a mobile, you can go to the participants menu and there's an option called chat there. And you can ask questions from panelists through the chat. If you're asking questions, this is how you should do it. First, type your name and then the name of the panelist you'd like to ask a question from. And then you can type in the question. Again, your name, panelist name, and the question, and send the message. Make sure that you are addressing the message to everyone and make sure that it's the private message so that we can see it. And towards the latter part of the meeting, we'll be answering your questions. Now, even though I'm the Zoom host, moderating today's panel discussion is a very special individual, especially to leaders of tomorrow. He is none other than Dr. Prabhat Karunanayaka. Dr. Karunanayaka is a medical doctor by training and a human resource developer by practice. He holds an MBA in human resource management and an MSc in business psychology and has postgraduate qualifications in occupational safety and health and psychology. He passionately works towards building the capacity of youth and young adults, and through his flagship program, Leaders of Tomorrow, he shares the message of personal leadership and life success. He also conducts leadership development programs at schools and universities, and up to now has reached more than 3,000 students with his message. Dr. Prabhat Karunanayaka, over to you.
Thank you, Kavishka. Good evening to all of you who are participating for the 7th panel discussion conducted by Leaders of Tomorrow Online. 5 years ago, I founded the Leaders of Tomorrow program to empower the next generation into becoming competent, confident, and compassionate adults. Up to now, we have conducted close to 15 workshops in addition to the programs which we conduct at schools and universities. Now, all these programs were outdoor activity-based programs. We conducted our last workshop on 21st of February, and the plans were set for the next 2 sessions, one on 15th of March and the other one on 7th of April. And we all know what happened after that. So we could no longer ask you to come to our programs because of the restrictions. But instead, we decided to come to you. So this is the 7th in the series of many online knowledge sharing sessions and also skill development sessions. Our last 3 sessions were on keep learning, where we explored 9 disciplines, from photography to video editing to gardening to baking, grooming, which you can learn as a hobby or maybe as a profession. So today we will shift our attention from skills to knowledge. Specifically, how we can improve the efficiency of the knowledge gathering process. Basically, how we can learn to learn. That's the title of the session today. And learning to learn is the ability to pursue and persist in learning, to organize your own learning process, including effective management of time and information, both individually and in groups. That is what learn to learn is. Now this competence will include awareness of your learning needs, what you need to learn, and identifying the available opportunities, what resources you have, and the ability to overcome obstacles. Because when you start the process of learning, there will be many obstacles which might come in the form of being tired, not being focused, no energy. So all those things will have to be managed. Then learning to learn engages you, the learner, to build on prior experience in order to use and apply the new knowledge and skills in a variety of contexts. It could be at home, in education, or maybe in the future at work. So whatever the situation, what you're going to learn today will be applicable in many settings to come. So to be successful today, you need to be continuously adapting, learning, growing, and improving yourself. You can't say, okay, now I've done my subject, that's all. So it is a continuous process. So in other words, everyone needs to become a self-directed, lifelong learner. So in this discussion, you will learn about different tools and techniques to help you to be these lifelong learners and to cultivate your capacity and cultivate and improve your capacity for learning. Then whether you are learning your subjects at school or maybe you are learning something, say coding as a hobby, you will have some tools with you which will enhance your learning capacity. That's the whole purpose of this session. Okay, the bigger attention will be towards education and how to do your schoolwork, exams, and so on. But don't forget that the same skills you can learn in many other situations as well. So as I mentioned above, we have lined up 3 experts to talk to you about 3 learning skills, namely reading, mind mapping, and mindfulness. Each panelist will have a general account of the subject, which will be followed by some questions which I'm going to ask. And you in the audience are welcome to post questions, as Kavishka mentioned earlier, to any of the panelists. You can use the chat panel, as mentioned earlier. First type your name. We have to identify from whom the question is coming. Then the name of the panelist, and finally the question very briefly. So you can sit back and go with us in this journey to become better learners for life. The first topic for today is reading. Now, reading is virtually part and parcel of life, of our life as students, isn't it? From notes to textbooks to articles, online resources, the list is endless. So there are so many things you need to read and so little time. So to talk to you about a very productive and efficient method of reading, we have Dr. Ashwini Diabru. Dr. Ashwini is a medical doctor attached to the Department of Medical Education, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. Her field of research is medical education, including neurobiological aspects of learning, and her work has been published in peer-reviewed journals and presented in scientific conferences, both in Sri Lanka and overseas. Her special area of interest is personal development and lifelong learning, an area in which she provides support to students at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. She's an avid reader and makes it a personal goal to read at least 2 to 3 books per week. Ashwini, over to you to tell us about this SQ3R method of reading.
Hello everyone, I hope I can be heard.
Yes, you are loud and clear, Ashwini, you can go.
Right, okay. Thank you, Dr. Prabhat, for that very kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me for this session. Could you kindly put my slides on screen, please, Kavishka? So until they come, I would really like to reiterate what Dr. Prabhat said, right? These little skills that you learn are tools in your toolbox that would help you deal with a lot of information. that you need for your school, for other work that you do, for your hobbies and interests. If you like debating or general knowledge, whatever you like, these little skills are tools in your toolbox that will help you do better and learn better and perform better. So that is why we need to learn how to learn. It is not something that comes automatically to us, but it is a skill that we all need to develop. And I am going to give you a little tool to put in your toolbox, which is called the SQ3R reading method. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you about why effective reading and learning strategies are important, and give you this one strategy, the SQ3R strategy. Now, if you go on Google or if you look at learning textbooks, there are many other strategies, but this is a good place to start. A lot of students in schools and in universities have found this very useful. Now, why do we need this sort of effective learning strategy? Next slide, please. And that is because the amount of information available is growing more and more every day. Now, in this graph, what I'm showing is how medical information, so that's my field of study, medicine, right? How much new information is added every year. And you can see there's a steep rise in the graph. If we add all the knowledge that everyone knows in the world, the graph would probably be a straight line upwards. So nobody can know everything about everything, but you would like to know maybe the important things of things that are that you use in your daily life. And that is what why these reading strategies are important, because we cannot read everything relevant to us. We should be able to efficiently read and make use of the knowledge and transfer that information into our memory banks, right, in an efficient manner, and retain that knowledge. Next, please. Right. So I'm going to talk to you about something called the SQ3R method. So the name itself is a mnemonic, right? And the S, right, is something that stands for surveying. I know, let's say you have a textbook to read. Now, what I'm going to tell you is relevant whether you are in primary school or whether you are in secondary school or whether you're at university level or studying for a higher degree, right? When you need to gain some information by reading, the first thing you need to do is the letter S. So that's the next point on my PowerPoint. That is to survey, right? You need to skim or just get a bird's eye view about what you need to do. So maybe you look at the chapter, you can count the number of pages, you can see what the subheadings are, right? Or see whether there are any questions at the end. Are there any pictures, right? And the next thing to do is the Q. That's the next letter in this mnemonic, and that is to question, right? So let's say you are learning about coronavirus, right? So maybe the first question you need to ask for yourself, right, is what is coronavirus, right? Then how do we get it? How can we prevent it? Why is there no medicine, right? So by asking those questions, right, you sort of get an idea what you need to know by the end of that chapter or by the end of the time you read that section, right? So the next letter in the mnemonic is, that's the first R, is to read. And I will talk more about that later, right? And how you can read effectively, right? So that, of course, you have to do. And you have, the more you read, the faster you will learn to read. Now, technology is really good these days. If you're reading from online books or resources, there are little apps that test how many words you read per minute. But you don't, just reading is not enough. You need to understand what you read also. That is why there is a difference when you read for a hobby or for enjoyment, or when you read to learn. When you read to learn, there has to be a transfer of information into your memory bank, right? So I will be talking more about that later. The next R, right, is to recite. Okay, so this may sound strange to you because we are used to reading quietly, right? Maybe when you were in the younger grades, you read aloud for your parents or teachers to hear. But when we read to ourselves, we usually read quietly. Why is it important to recite? That is because there are different parts of the brain activated when you do that. So when you read, you're using your eyes, and that activates one part of your brain. When you recite, you're using your mouth and you can hear yourself, right? So that activates two other parts of your brain. When more parts of your brain are active, you remember things better because the brain makes little connections from one part to another so that it helps you remember. So that is why someone who reads one time will not remember much, but if someone reads and recites, and then we will come to the next R, the final R. Now, some people say it is for review, some people say it is for relate, and some people put them together and call it the SQ4R method. So that's all right, different people classify this in different ways. So finally, what you need to do is review. Review means you go through it again and see, have I really understood what is going on? And the next speaker, one of the next speakers, Mr. Dayanatha, will explain a very, very good technique where you can review and relate to what you already know. Now, for example, if you are, again, to use the coronavirus example, you can say, okay, what do I already know about viruses? How is this the same? How is it different? Why now the cold is caused by a virus too, right? Why are we not scared of a common cold? But why are we taking so many precautions for coronavirus? So like that, when you ask yourself more questions, and that helps you understand what is going on, right? So just to summarize in my next slide, right? So first we have the survey. You look at the headings, the captions, the introductions, the summary, whether there are any pictures, because that shows you what the person who wrote the book thinks is important. If they think it's important, they will put a heading. They will put a picture to help you understand, right? Next one is that you question. You can write the question down on a paper, right? What do I already know about this? Are there any questions at the end of the textbook? So in the audience, we may have little boys and girls who are going to school, and you will remember that at the end of every chapter in your textbooks, there are some questions to see whether you have comprehended, right? And then the next R is reading. Look for, now you have questions in your head, right? What is coronavirus? Right? So then when you look, you see, okay, coronavirus is a type of virus that causes a pneumonia or that affects the lungs. Like that, when you have to have those questions in your mind when you're reading and try to answer the questions that you have in your mind or which you have written down. And this is why writing down the questions is important, right? And then you might find there are some difficult areas. You might decide to read it again, maybe relate it to a table or a graph that is there, right? And then you recite. You can tell the answers to yourself. So coronavirus is like this. I had a student who didn't really remember much from reading, but he used to do drama in school. And so then I suggested, why don't you use some of your drama skills? So what she did was she took a perfume bottle, pretended that it was a mic, right? Stood on her bed and performed the chapter, right? And that way she was able to remember it in a way that worked for her, right? So while that sort of dramatic technique is not needed for everyone, when you do recite, you activate different parts of the brain, and that will help you remember. Finally, the last 2 points are to relate and to review. Where else can this knowledge be applied, right? And then you have your short notes, mind maps, mnemonics, little shortcuts that you use are all then you put it together in your head, and that will help you remember. Right? So in my next slide, I go more into detail about reading, right? Where there are different ways you can move your eyes when you're improving your reading. Now, when little children learn to read first, they move from left to right. So can I see the first graphic, please? Right? So you go through one of the sentences, right? And then the next one. Then when you get more used to reading, so that next image will show that it's a zigzag movement of the eyes. Now, this is not something you do deliberately. This happens when you get more and more familiar with reading. And then finally, the final 2 images will show how you will read with a vertical or downward eye movement, and that is more efficient in covering the content on the page. Now, this is a skill that This is a skill that you have to develop by reading more and more. So my final slide will summarize what I said. Okay, so you answer questions and then relate to how you can use the information. I hope I was clear.
Yes, Ashwini. I mean, it was very clear. Now, I have some questions for you. First of all, now, when you are studying, of course, memory plays a big role now, because you have to remember. Now, how does this method specifically helps out in memory?
Okay, right. Thank you for asking that question. And I had hoped you'd bring something like that up. And so memory works in different ways. So just like a computer has a random access memory and a hard disk, we have our sensory memory. As soon as you see something, you remember, there's an immediate memory. Then what we call a short-term and a long-term memory. So when you're learning, when you're reading to learn, you have to transfer this knowledge from the short-term memory to the long-term memory, right? And all of the little tips that I used, right, are to transfer this. So when you review, when you try to remember it more and more, you go through it again and again, you are transferring it to long-term memory. When you activate different parts of your brain, you are transferring it to long-term memory, right? And that is something that is very important, no matter which level of learning that you are in, and that is to transfer from short-term to long-term memory.
Yeah, that is to save the stuff in your hard disk.
Absolutely, yes.
Right now, now the modern print material like textbooks, they facilitate this method, right? I think they also slide up with some modern textbook layouts. Can you explain that also?
Yes. Can I see that slide, please? The next slide. So I think when experts are making new textbooks, you will see that these are far different from what they were maybe 20-25 years ago. They are very colorful, right? There are multiple graphs and little summary boxes explaining things, right? And that is to facilitate this type of reading method, right? So you can see or you can think of your textbooks, there will be boxes with important points. There may be images, there may be a summary at the beginning or a summary at the end. And in fact, some textbooks will give you some questions at the end of the chapter or at the end of the book, so that you can review and repeat and question yourself, so that this sort of short-term to long-term memory transfer is facilitated.
So, which means like the modern textbooks have the inbuilt system which will facilitate the SQ3R method if you do it properly, no?
Yes, that's right.
Right. Now, okay, now we spoke about the print material. Now, more and more electronic resources are coming up now. Now, maybe because of lockdown and online learning, a lot of electronic resources are coming up. Now, can we apply this method for electronic resources as well?
Yes, it can be carefully applied. Now, the difference between electronic resources and print resources is that electronic resources are built, so you are limited to that screen, right? So the attention span may be limited and they are catered towards a limited attention span. Now, our members who are used to reading on devices or reading from websites will be familiar with how you swipe with your finger and change. But again, when these websites have been created specifically to facilitate learning, or they are learning material specifically created, it will facilitate this type of learning. You will get a lot of visual cues. In fact, e-textbooks now in medicine, for example, have 3D images and videos that you can tap on and access, which will explain what goes on in the text. And it is there not only in medicine, in other fields as well, right? Even print textbooks these days will have links, sometimes linking to online learning material, because even the textbook publishers realize that the world and the learners are going more for electronic learning support. So there will be CDs, or there will be links to videos and other learning resources. And this is great because you are, as I said earlier, activating different parts of your brain. So when you do that, what happens is little connections are built between the nerves in each part of the brain. It's like a network, right? And every time you go through it, this network becomes stronger and stronger, and you remember better and better, right? So anything that will strengthen this network is something that we should be doing over and over again.
Right. Thank you, Ashwini. I think in your intro, I mentioned that you are a avid reader and read about 2 to 3 books a week, and I assume that you are using these techniques to read fast so that you can finish books
yes.
that fast, right?
So that happens because of practice. So when I read textbooks, when I read to gain knowledge, it's it is very specifically with this method. When I read novels, I find that I read even faster. So I can usually finish a novel within a few hours because the skill of reading fast with the downward eye movement and without losing anything. So this is not skim reading. You are actually reading, but you have developed the skill to read more than a certain number of words per minute.
Yes. Right, Ashwini. So I'll give you a rest. Of course, there are some questions coming up, so we will take it up at the end.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, let's move on to the second topic of the day. Now, using SQ3R method, we can improve our reading. Now, let's look at a technique that will help you to organize the information which you have absorbed by reading and to facilitate retrieval of such information when it's needed. So this will be a technique called mind mapping. And to talk to you about mind mapping, we have Mr. Aruna Dayanatha. Aruna, who holds an MBA from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, is a manager, consultant, and a researcher specializing in management subjects. He has worked in many sectors in Sri Lanka and overseas, and has expertise in IT and HR as major knowledge areas. He has stopped, this is very interesting, he has stopped generating paper in his professional and academic activities as a contribution to sustainable development goals. He usually finds convenient ways of doing things, and using mind maps is one such instance. His mind map use has helped him to make his academic and consultancy work more effective. So over to you, Aruna, to educate us on mind mapping.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhat. Let me share the screen of my presentation. Actually, don't get disappointed. This is not a PowerPoint presentation. This is a mind map by itself. right? So actually, Dr. Prabhat wanted us to send the PowerPoint presentations, but I did not prepare a PowerPoint presentation because we are going to talk about mind maps. Okay, and okay, so first let us see what is a mind map. Okay, so this is what you see on the screen is a mind map, right? And then this is basically, it's a way of organizing your ideas and thoughts. Like, when you are keeping things in your mind, it's about, like, it's a fuzzy thing or something similar to mind map. It connects ideas, connect concepts, and build relationships, and bridge between two concepts. Likewise, that is how it is organized in the mind, right? And importantly, mind map is a diagram. Okay, so diagram that shows concepts. You can have build a mind map on one concept, right? And you can identify components of the concept and the relationship between those concepts, and how the concept is composed of, and having details on this concept, so that you put things into a diagram. So that is where the mind map, it's a diagram basically, right? So it's kind of, we say, it's a artwork by itself. Like, basically what you're doing is you're putting what is in your mind into paper in terms of an artwork, right? And then when you're drawing this artwork, okay, so today, the modern day, today's context, okay, you can start drawing mind map on paper. But okay, if you are a bit computer savvy, you can go into a computer and use a computer tool like what I'm using. Like, you can download free mind mapping tool like Free Mind, right? Using computers, right? And or you can use it on your smartphone, right? You go to Apple or Play Store. You can download a tool that helps you to develop a mind map. Or you can do online mind mapping. When it comes to the latter part, if I have time, I'll tell you, like, no, okay, it's collaborative mind mapping. So you can collaborate with people and use mind map. So this is what a mind map is about in a nutshell. Okay, where can we use it? Right. These are, I mean, possibilities are endless. Right? You can use mind map in note taking. That's what I do. Like, when I do my studies, I open my laptop and develop a mind map. If you want to get a group of people to brainstorm, I told you about collaborative mind mapping. There are tools on internet. Oh, I mean, you can open up a big paper, demi paper on a table, and develop a mind map as a group that you can add, and you can delete things, and likewise you can use it for brainstorming, problem solving, studying, and memorization, as what was discussed earlier. Planning something, right? Researching and consolidating information from multiple sources. If you have from books, newspapers, websites, and different sources, if you want to bring them into one, you can use mind maps. And also presenting information, like, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm using this mind map electronic, using this electronic tool which I used to develop a mind map to make a presentation. There are tools on internet, right? Some of them are paid tools. You'll have to pay a small amount, right? It will give you a better presenting options on these mind maps. And also getting insights on complex subjects. You can have a very complex mind map, right? So if I just show you, I'm going to show you. This is a mind map which I have developed. It's kind of complex. It's not like, it would be, this kind of thing would be difficult to develop without a computer tool. But for you to start with, I encourage you to start the mind map with on paper, right? So, and also you can use mind map to develop your creativity as well. Whatever comes into one, and put them into mind map without evaluating them, Later on, you can organize, you can extend the topics, or if you want, you can remove certain things. But likewise, you can use it for your creativity. Okay, so then let's look at what are the components of a mind map. So the component of the mind map, you have a main idea. Basically, you select a subject, concept, or something central which you have to develop the mind map on. So that is becomes the main idea, the concept. Right? And from the concept, from the main idea, there are branches that you will be developing. The branches are themes. Right? These themes will be developed into branches. Right? So the branches can contain text, words, numbers, paragraphs, images, lines, icons, clouds, likewise, so many things. If you can draw anything on paper, it can be put onto a branch. And twigs, that basically the leaves and the nodes in the branches, and you can have independent elements as well. On the drawing, you can have something which is not connected to the main concept as well. So likewise, you can have drawings and text and independent elements on the mind map. So these are when you do practice mind maps, these are the components that you will be using in your mind map. Okay, let's see how we are going to do a mind map. Right? So you take a paper, I mean, maybe a A4 size paper or a bigger paper like a demi paper, and pen and pencil, I don't need to mention, right? So color pens and pencils, right? So basically what you do is you draw a circle and center and write the concept you want to study, right? Then what you do is you draw themes. I'll show you some examples, right? So this is something somebody has drawn a mind map about his plans for year 2020. I don't know if these plans were successful after this COVID thing. He might not have been able to visit grandparents, right? So this is a central idea, and these are components or themes which are related to the central idea, right? So okay, so that is, you draw a circle in the center of the page, draw themes around main concept, and connect to the. Here, actually, what I advise is at the very first level, you use short phrases, right? Like, of course, you can draw paragraphs, write paragraphs, that's okay. And then extend those themes to twigs. So what you can do is you can add text, add images, color the connecting lines, right? And then you improve it sometimes, okay, something like this. So you have the central idea, right? Key theme and keywords, twigs, and this is likewise you extend your mind map, right? So I'll just show you some examples. This one I told you. Right, and this is a mind map done for the teachings of Buddha. Right, so we have Lord Buddha's image here, and 5 precepts and 4 noble truths, and likewise. So from 4 noble truths, like suffering, causes of suffering, and likewise you extend them from that node, that theme. And okay, so electricity. If you want to do a mind map on what electricity is, you put the electricity in the middle, right? And there are different themes as you wish, right? It's under your total control. As you wish, you put them and draw and connect, right? So this is a mind map done on history, the ancient Egypt timelines, right? And let's see what else is there. And this is design thinking, most probably done using a computer. Right, so the design thinking, and these are the 5 phases of design thinking: define, ideate, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And you have other twigs stepping or extending from there. Well, I mean, I should not forget this. Okay, this is a coronavirus mind map developed by someone else. Like every information which you want to capture were captured in here, right? So this is basically the mind map, right? So it's all up to you. You start with a central concept, build, or when if you are reading a book, reading a textbook, you then incorporate the main themes, and details stemming from those themes can be added onto the mind map. And you keep this one, you start drawing this one on paper, right? Sometimes you might have to do versions, right? So, and like if you are going to, I advise you to start with this on paper, and later on you can go in using it up to, I mean, even to your higher studies as well. So basically, that's about the quick introduction of mind maps. I have been using it for a long time. I think that would do.
Thank you, Aruna, for that very detailed information about mind maps. Now, as students, we have a lot of students here, close to 50. And now, they will have several learning activities. Now, they might have note taking and revision and various activities. So, how can mind maps be used specifically for these learning activities that the students will have to do?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding. Okay, it's like this. When you draw your first mind map, you will start the concept and have the components, right? And then have details drawn on nodes, on twigs of the mind map, right? So that you do first version with very much detailed mind map, right? So then what you do is when you want to remember, when you want to by heart the content, you read it, and then you should see. If you remember those things, now you put that first version aside and do another version. The second version will have lesser details. For some paragraph that you had in the first version, you will only have a keyword, right? But you still keep both the mind maps together, right? Okay, so the earlier version on top. So you read the keyword and remember, try to recall the concept, the text behind that keyword in the mind map underneath. Turn the mind map and see whether you remember or what you remembered is correct, right? And if it is correct, yes, wow, you have learned it, right? So if not, okay, you read it and try to put it into your mind, you try to remember it and you close it. And if you want, you can do another version, like even a simpler, shorter set of keywords, a lesser number of keywords, mind map with a lesser number of keywords. Likewise, you keep versions, right? So you keep the latest one and you go to the next one and you go to the next one. What you say is cascade down. So then that will help you to by heart things, remember things, study things.
And I think one of the mistakes that most of our students do is like when they are doing the revision, they would read the entire thing over and over again. But maybe certain parts is now firmly in their long-term memory. So by this the mind maps which you are doing like progressive mind maps, when you are revising, you can revise with the last one. If you remember, fine. If you don't, then you go to the detailed one, isn't it?
That's right. So that what you do is you organize things in a sequence, in a stack of papers that having different versions of detail levels of your mind map. That
And,
really
yes. Can you briefly tell us when you are listening to your teacher and when you're taking notes, how can you use mind maps then and there?
well, okay. So basically, when teachers teach us, they give us a topic. Okay. So they give us a topic, so that could be the concept, main concept, right? And then you take the theme. We'll say will be teacher. Okay, we'll say the teacher is teaching us. We'll say something. We'll say Buddhism, right? And then teacher will talk about the life of Buddha. So what you do is you do a theme, you do a branch like this, right? And you add the details of whatever the things that the teacher is telling. Right? So if you are doing it in electronically, we can simply drag and drop. Just watch this one. I'm dragging this one onto this and drop it here, right? So it comes here, right? If you are using electronic version, that is very convenient. Or otherwise, you simply draw it on paper. So that when the teacher goes into the next concept, next theme, you add a new node, new theme, and keep on developing it.
Now, actually, I've been trying this method out with my kids, and one of the things that the problems they had was, can you use this for all subjects? For example, can you use a mind map for math?
Oh, definitely. Okay. So it's like this, Dr. Prabhat. When we say mind map, whatever you can take onto mind can be put onto mind map. So we'll say you are doing maths, and this is trigonometric, right? So then the basic concept, right? And the components, the theories, the assumptions, and how they become practical application, right? And also maybe authors that you need to remember, right? So likewise, they can be themes. So trigonometry can be at the concept at the center, and those themes can be added. It's up to you. It's up to your creativity. You are free to decide all those themes, right? And add those the themes and details, and then you resort to versions.
And I believe like the whole purpose of mind map is to allow your mind to be free and be creative, right? So that way you can do anything which you can think of.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yes.
And finally, now I do read on mind maps, and I know that the concept is evolving. So what are the newer extensions or new methods in mind mapping?
Okay, so I'll talk about there are okay. First thing, you can use mind mapping with paper, right? So then you can come into computer. You can download a free tool on mind map and or for mind map on computer, and you can do computer. Like even you can do book writing. I'm doing my research. Introduction, Dr. Prabhat said I'm doing my research, and why I do not generate paper is I read PDF files, highlight the text on PDF files, whatever the important text, and I import them into this mind map, right, and organize them in the mind map, right? So this is a mind map which I have done like that. So this will links to the PDF files, right? And then I reorganize like all this writing and text. I reorganize them, and even I can export them into a Word file. Right? Complete elimination of using paper, right? And another level is so that, and also when it comes to we'll start using mind map today. When you go into your degree level, when you're going to do your master's level, right, you have to do literature reviews, right? Basically you have to read the literature and summarize them into your writing, right? That can be easily done with, I'm doing it with, which I call it as drag and drop literature review, right? If I know, I see there are some people adults here as well. So if the literature review is a difficult thing, Dr. Prabhat knows that, right? Even Dr. Ashwin knows that, right? But with this, the literature review becomes very simple, right? So that is when it comes to your university education. And also collaborative mind mapping. There are tools, right? There are tools available in the internet. You can, one person would be in America and the other person would be in Australia, and you are in Sri Lanka, and you can get everybody to contribute into this mind map using collaborative mind mapping, right? So that's the highest level which I have gone, right? So likewise, this is a journey. Start with the mind map on paper, and then you can evolve. So I'll just show you another one. This is mind map which I have developed in a discussion with one of my clients. Likewise, I use mind map everywhere. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Your mic
okay.
is.
Thank you very much again for you. So I give you a small break and take in the other the next panelist, and I invite the members in the audience. Now you might be having a lot of things to be clarified about the two concepts we already discussed about the reading method, the SQ3R, and the mind mapping. So you can raise your questions directed to any one of the panel members. So you can go to the chat panel, type it out, and we will take them up at the end. With the available time, we see what we can do. So please type your questions now itself. Now it's time to move on to the final topic of the day. Whether you are trying to read a textbook using SQ3R method or to revise what you have learned by preparing a mind map, you need to pay attention and be focused. So not being able to focus and the lack of attention is a big problem in whatever you do in your studies. So you must keep your mind in place without wandering. Keep it in the subject. So let's look at mindfulness, that is keeping your mind in place. To talk about mindfulness, we have with us Mrs. Udara Vijayaratna. Udara was a student at Vishaka Vidyalaya. She completed her BSc degree in Applied Biology at Rajarata University and MSc in Molecular Medicine at Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, University of Colombo. She has obtained a postgraduate diploma in counseling and psychosocial support from the Faculty of Graduate Studies, University of Colombo. She is a certified life coach from the Institute of Mental Health, Sri Lanka. In addition, she has attended mind-body medicine courses at Harvard Medical School. She has worked as a temporary lecturer in the Open University of Sri Lanka, University of Sri Jagadhanapura and University of Colombo. Currently, she is a life coach at Institute of Mental Health, Sri Lanka. Udara, over to you.
Wishing you all a mindful evening. Dr. Prabhat, I really admire the theme of the panel discussion, Learn to Learn. We just completed learning significant techniques which are helping for us to become better learners. Dr. Ashwini and Mr. Dayanatha shared a very interesting way how we can enhance our capacity for learning. Now let's see, what is the role of mindfulness in learning? How mindfulness help you in the process of learning? Let me share my screen. Slideshow.
Udara, we only see your desktop.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, okay. No? Now you can
yes,
see.
Yes, yes.
Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? In order to be mindful, you have to be here and now. When you look at this image, you can see two girls in the same environment, but once one person, her mind is filled with enormous things, various other things other than the environment where she is. The other girl who is at the moment enjoying what is there in that particular environment. So when you think about yourself, how do you feel? Most of the time, how is your mind? Is your mind filled with a lot of other things, or are you mindful at the moment? Think about yourself. How most of what is your more tendency? First, so we will see what is mindfulness. Simply saying, mindfulness is being at the present moment, keeping your attention at the moment to the task at hand. So when thinking about it, how imagine you're studying. So at a time you're reading a book, how you feel? Are you capable of fully focus in it and read well, or is your mind wander? For everybody, the mind wanders. So you may be reading the book, you are going through the content, but while doing that, you can go to another country, you can visit your friend, you can, your mind has the capacity to take you all over the world while you are engaging in a task. So how to tame this mind? So that is about mindfulness. So when you are in the classroom or in a lecture, or whatever the task you are in, you might think about something in the past or the future, or even your favorite TV show, or maybe a game you played with friends. and also these digital distractions. We are enormously distracted with lots of distractions these days. So in this uh, setup, it's difficult for us to focus and work or learn. So that's why this is important. So mindfulness will help us to tame our unpredictable mind. So with proper training, we can, and regular practice, we can tame our mind. So when it is into mindfulness, we have to be aware where we are and what we are doing. And we should be non-judgmental, and while being just observing what is happening at the moment, the things as they are. So we can call it like choiceless awareness. So there we are not going to make any judgments or choices. We are just observe things as they are. That itself is a major ability of human being. So the good news is that all of us have the potential to be mindful. We can practice mindfulness anywhere, anytime. So all we have to do is embrace each moment of our life with an open mind. So let's see how to practice mindfulness. We can basically practice mindfulness mainly in three categories, like mindful walking, mindful sitting, and mindful day-to-day activities. Let's see each in detail. Mindful walking you can do in your the ideal setup will be, as you can see here, in the outdoor, in the sand floor or ground grass where you can see grass, because when you touch the floor with your barefoot, you get connected with the earth, mother earth. So that sensation also, you know, that when you are in an the natural environment, you feel more connected to yourself. So this is the ideal setup, but you can do it even at your home, inside your home. Find a place where you can walk for like 20 paces, and you sit in your walking track or the selected area, and you better keep your hands in holding together in the front or back, because if you swing here in the mindful walking, our priority is to see the sensations of the foot, how this, when you're walking, what do you feel. So it's more into your lower body. So in order to have a proper attention towards the walking, you better keep your hands in the front or back, and keep your eyes open in a way slanted where you can see up to like 2-meter distance. And initially you can walk in your normal speed in order to get used to the track, and thereafter you can slowly walk, noting the sensations you feel when you feel the ground, how you feel when your sole touches the floor, what are the sensations, whether it's warm or cold, or the coarse, or the how the sand is whether rough, or likewise try to feel the sensations of your walking. So it is said that this type of, here the balancing of the foot, initially if it is difficult for you to mainly feel the sensation, one easy way of noticing or keeping your attention towards this is, you can say left, right, left, right. Not to say, not in the mind only, don't verbally say, just from mind observe. When you keep your right leg, right, left, right, left, likewise. Or else when you develop the attention somewhat, you can tell yourself that now you can observe the process, lifting the foot, moving forward and placing, lifting, moving forward, placing. Likewise, gradually you can develop this process. The ideal would be to be able to just without a single word, just try to feel the sensations. Then we will move to mindful sitting. Mindful sitting is the way, like this is like more, imagine your phone, right? When your phone is charging, both mindful walking and mindful sitting are like charging yourself. You need some separate time for yourself to practice this, set aside from other activities, where you fully like, you know, give yourself the full dedicate a separate time and fully attentive to the, just for focusing your mind or developing your mind. It's like brain, developing, imagine your brain as a muscle. So develop that muscle, you have to sit and practice like this. So when you're doing this, you sit in a comfortable position and keep your back straight, back and head, so that when it is straight, you can keep your palm right on the left palm or in any comfortable way. The most important thing is you're going to sit for like some time. Initially you can start with 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, 20. There are some people like who has developed the ability to sit for many hours. So likewise, you have to be, first thing is to make yourself comfortable and adjust your posture and sit and try what is the, like, you can here you can think about the sensations of the body, what are the like things that you feel, and also surrounding noise sounds you get. You can do mindful listening by sitting, and one most common way is the mindful breathing. You can observe your breath. Have you ever thought, from the day you were born until the day you die, until your last breath, this breath is the friend with you throughout your lifetime? So have you ever paid attention to this breath? So this is kind of a time where you can be friendly with your breath, who is always there for you. So this sensation of breathing, how it, you observe and feel when the air touches the nostril, how you feel, and how it, when it goes in, what are the like characteristics of this friend, so-called the breath. It's whether it's cold or whether it mixes with any spells or else any sort of what are the like the texture, and I mean whether it's coming from the speed of the breath. Likewise, you can see the characteristics of your breath when you're fully mindful about your breathing. So this will help you to anchor your the mindful breath will anchor you with this mindfulness practice. So now the sensations will differ with the practice. This won't happen within one day or two, because our mind has the tendency for wandering. So this wandering mind will always bother you. It will not let you focus on your breath. So don't worry about that. Let it happen as it is. So next we will move to mindful day-to-day activities. What of course we can do a lot of activities mindfully. We will look into some to common things like, you know, eating. You, when you eat, try to feel the sensation of your food. So in that, first see the texture of your food, and then the aroma, and how you feel the changing of the texture when you're eating, and the whole process, how when you are eating mindfully, you can feel so many different, like, you know, just when you practice only, you will feel how different it is. And imagine when you are waiting in a line, that time also you can take for mindfulness practice. You can feel how you are standing, your other sensations in the surrounding. In addition, you can do all the activities like brushing your teeth, showering, cleaning your room. Likewise, whatever the activity you do, you can pay attention to the task at hand and attend in that. So let's see what are the benefits of being mindful and why it is important for education. So now there are research evidence shows many universities have done research related to mindfulness, and University of Harvard and also the Wisconsin University, they have carried out a lot of research related to mindfulness, and Oxford Mindfulness Center. All these have, likewise, many universities has carried out a lot of research which has shown that this enhances memory, learning capacity, and your ability to think and analyze things properly. This in order to prepare a mind map, you have to analyze things and get the, likewise for everything, this will help you to enhance your focus and make your mind clear and become better learners. So now this has been, likewise there are a lot of places where now because of the significance, now this has been introduced to schools. Here there are projects like which has incorporated this technique into school curriculum in UK, USA. Now this is happening. And here also in Sri Lanka, Satipasala Foundation, which was founded by Most Venerable Uduviriyagama Dhammajiva Mahatheru, has been now implementing a lot of programs for children to enhance their mind capacity and like focus, clarity, which help them for become better learners. So I invite you all to be here now, and thank you for your attention.
So we won't let you go that easily. So I have some things to clarify now. Apart from this, the normal day-to-day activities which you mentioned about this walking, sitting, and eating, and all these things, can you give us maybe a few specific tools which you can recommend to improve mindfulness?
Yes, Dr. Pravat. There are a lot of like tools and techniques, especially when it is into mindfulness. Now, as I mentioned, now it has become a globally a blooming field because of the research evidences that it has been proven. Now, there are a lot of games they have created, and also apps where you can use as techniques. Also, there are guided meditation sessions, mindfulness sessions, where you can listen to and practice with it. Because initially it will be difficult for you to do it by yourself. So better get help from that type of things. In addition, I have here with me some, I don't know whether have you all seen this. This is called Mindful Magic Jar, which is helping me to become mindful. So here, if you look at it, you can see now it has got, when I turn it, shake it, see what happens. It gets turbid, right? This is like a mind which is disturbed by lot of thoughts. These dust particles are like our thoughts. When our mind is filled with dust particles, what happens? It makes it dispersed, and like our clarity get vanished. So when you keep it still, now again it became clear. So again your mind will get wandered. So again what you have to do is to keep it still. So this mindful sitting will help, and mindful walking will help you to, it's like in the sitting session, what did we do? I mean, we were just observing the breath, right? We didn't do anything. We were just observing the breath. So it get cleared. So similarly, this will, our mind also will get clear. See, this is mindfulness, being still at the. So you also can make one like this, right? All you have to do is find a bottle where you can clip, like seal very well, and add water, glue, and glitter dust, and shake well, and make sure you seal the cap. So I keep this in my study table, where whenever I get distracted when I'm working on something, I used to take this magic jar and get the help of it to make my mind clear. So you also can try the same thing.
And just now I see a question, someone asking how to make it, and I think you have just explained how to make it at home. Right. Next, now that we learned about mindfulness and this jar as well, I believe the audience would be happy to experience how it feels, right? So could you take us through a very brief mindfulness session, Udara?
Yes, Dr. Prabhat. Only by practicing we can experience the blessings of being mindful. Now I invite you all for a short mindful breathing session. First of all, sit comfortably. Make yourself comfortable. You have, and keep your back
He's going to take me
straight
to a mindful.
and head. And you can keep your palms open, either one on the other, or just in a way, anyway you feel relaxed on your lap. And gently close your eyes. Focus on your breath. Bring your whole attention to the sensation of your breath. Sense the cool air coming in and warm air going out. Feel the chest rising and falling, the belly expanding and contracting. Let yourself breathe naturally. Don't try to control your breath. Just observe your breath, being here and now. Enjoy the quality time you are spending with your breath, your best friend. Get friendly with your breath. Mindfully notice the in-breath and out-breath. Open up your whole consciousness to the simple process of breathing. Now gently open your eyes. Hope you feel it's a small, actually a micro session when you compare to proper mindfulness session. But since the time constraints, we have to limit, but you can do this every day. Make it a habit, because when you make it a habit only, you can feel the real benefit of it. Then only your brain will change. Now with neuroplasticity research, it has been proven with mindfulness, your brain capacity expands. You can become better learners. So this is a practice where it's, this is not only for learning. In order to improve the whole life, there are enormous benefits, health benefits and stress, psychological benefits. Likewise, this is the new trend. The whole world is moving towards mindfulness. So I would like to say, but initially it will be difficult. That is normal, even for the practitioners who has been practiced so many years, the mind wanders. So don't struggle. Just accept as it, the thoughts will come. Just accept it as it is, and just keep on practicing. Make it a daily habit. That is the most important thing. Start with 3 minutes, then next week 5 minutes each day, and then 10 minutes. Likewise, start a gradual practice for both mindful walking and sitting, and try to incorporate mindfulness as much as possible in your day-to-day activities. You will see a great change.
Okay, thank you very much, Udara, for that very structured and beautiful explanation of mindfulness. Now, before we move on to the question session, I see a lot of questions appearing on the chat panel. So before that, we will take the questions. Let me introduce a guest we have with us today. He's Tiran Veerasinghe, a grade 8 student of the British School in Colombo. And for a few years, even though he's young, he has been using mind maps. So as an inspiration to all the other students, we invited Tiran to share his experience with mind maps with your audience. So Tiran, stage is yours to share your experience of mind mapping. Yes.
So I got to know about mind mapping in 2015. My dad had to go to Singapore for some work, and he came back to Sri Lanka with a book about mind mapping. And basically, this was a gift, and I didn't expect this book because, like, generally I'd expect toys or something like that as a child. But this book was completely worth the read. It taught me a lot of things, and it was very useful, and it is still useful for me. And I don't know what I'd do without this book. So it has helped me in many different ways. So after reading this particular book and expanding my knowledge about mind maps, for some reason I was always ahead of my class. I can't say that I was an A-star student, but I was like always ahead of them logically, and the way like how I organize my work and my activities. Also, like I always knew how to like take control of my full potential, because this book talks about like how when you're working, you always work with your left side of the brain, where it associates with like lined paper, words, equations, and so on. But like when you use the right side of your brain, which is what they teach you to like activate, you basically use your creativity and your imagination to use mind maps. Yeah, and I never really like told my friends about this back then, because most of the people back then weren't used to these kind of things. They were into video games, they were into sports, just as I was, and they didn't really worry about things like this. So but on the other hand, my teachers listened to me, and they were also fascinated by like how amazing mind maps are, and they used it they used it in our school as well. After I introduced it a little bit, they used it in our classes, and the entire class learned about it. It was a huge benefit for us in terms of learning. And
Tiran, you had shared with us a couple of mind maps which you have done. Zoom masters, if we can have them on screen, Tiran will be able to take us through those. Yes, so can you take us through this mind map, Tiran?
So everyone has goals in life, and these are like some of my goals that I've had recently. So some of them was, one is to be an entrepreneur. So it's like my long-term big goal to be a good entrepreneur. I want to stay like aware of what's happening outside, so then I know how to change what I do in the future, depending on what happens. I also need to list down a lot of my ideas, because I realized most of the ideas I get nowadays are really important and will be amazing to have later in the future, or maybe even now. And I need to I just need to think more, and I just need to spend time thinking a little bit. And another one of my goals is to get good grades. It's always been my goal, and I do get good grades, but it's ongoing. Like, I should always revise and go through my notes.
So basically what you're saying is your entire life's goals are in this piece of paper.
Not everything, but what
Okay,
I want
most of them.
to happen. Most of them.
Yeah. And can we have the next mind map also? Yeah.
This is what I love and what I like. So earlier we were talking about in mind maps how you need to list how to present things. So I was trying to present and clear out my mind a little bit. Sometimes I do mind maps just because I enjoy it. And here I talk about my love for cars, technology, how I love my family and friends. I love sport and so on.
Thank you very much, Tiran, for joining us and sharing your experience with mind maps. And finally, do you have a message for the audience? Last message?
Yeah, so I would say that mind mapping is really interesting. It's a huge benefactor as I see it. You must have the patience and the correct attitude when you're doing a mind map. And I think you should be happy when you're doing a mind map, because it's not just a mind map. This thing actually helps you, and the more time and effort you put into this, the better you might achieve.
Right. So thank you very much, Shiran. And I think we will share your contacts. And if any of the participants would like to get some help from you, maybe we can make the connection. So we will move on to the questions now. So we have received a lot of questions. There was one question about the mind mapping and directed to Aruna. But first we'll start with Ashwini. You are there, Ashwini, right? Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm here.
I see. Okay. Right. The first question is from Sandali, who's from our youth leadership program. I think you answered. Again, there's another similar question from DTM District Resource Master Ajita. This is about using mind maps for reading fiction or novel. Now, first one is whether you can use it. I think you answered that. Second question is, when you are reading fiction, it's not only the information, you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy the process. So then if you read fast, that you might not get that real feeling of that fiction. So the question from, Ajita is asking for your views about that aspect. When you use this SQ3R speed reading for reading novels and those sort of things.
Right, okay. So the SQ3R method is specifically recommended when you want information transfer, not really reading, reading for enjoyment, right? As the lady or the gent who forwarded the question mentioned, that when you are reading a novel, you really want to savor it, you want to visualize it, and it also depends on the pace of the novel. So you may be familiar with some mystery or action novels where it is very fast paced, where maybe romance novels have or other types of novels may have a slower pace. So it depends on the reader. But what is important is that the more you read, the faster you can learn to do it. And then actually this the vertical eye movements and reading slowly and enjoying it, those are not mutually exclusive. It is possible to read fast and still enjoy what you're reading. So my my recommendation would be is to keep reading, keep enjoying, and that will help you when you read to gain knowledge also.
Right. So the basic answer is this is a technique which has been developed to absorb knowledge, but can be used to other readings as well. But of course, if that involves the pace is slower, then maybe you have to adapt a different method. Thank you, Ashwini, for that descriptive answer. Then there was a question for Arun. I think you have already answered. That is, they are asking for the resources, the online resources that they can go to. I think you have already given some answers in the chat. What we'll do is we will put it in a nice format and put it in the WhatsApp group so they can take it up later on. Right? Then we have few questions from Udara. This is coming from Sandali again. Now, you mentioned about this mindful walking, and she's asking whether the same effect can be had if you are climbing up and down stairs. Will it be the same sensation of walking, by mindful walking?
Yes, wherever you walk, you have to do, I mean, feel the sensations. You can do it, there's no specific place. Of course, climbing steps, you can feel in different levels, of course, you can feel different sensations. When you are climbing down, you feel. So likewise, whenever you keep your foot down, whenever your foot touches the floor, you can get a sensation. So that experiencing that fully is mindfulness. You are doing mindful walking. So anytime, anywhere, you can practice mindfulness.
Right. Okay. So the thing is not the activity you are doing, but doing it with the focus and
focus, sensation, what is happening at the moment. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. And there's again a question from Upendra, my friend. Is there any spiritual meditation techniques involving mindfulness?
Actually, this is a secular thing. We all breathe, we all do activities. So it's not, of course, you get the development spiritual, your soul get nourished, you get the development, but it's a humanity. Like, you know, as we are human, we have the ability to think, and we have this, it's common to all. It's a secular thing. Mindfulness is a secular thing where it will make you a better version of yourself. That's what you are living fully, optimum. It will facilitate you to live your life optimally. Path for a blessed life. Yeah.
And I believe that in mindfulness, we are not trying to bring in new practices, but whatever you are doing with a focused mind, right?
Exactly.
Mind.
Yeah.
Right. And there's an interesting question again from Sandali. Can we be mindful when we are listening to music?
Of course, definitely.
So whatever you do, you can, right?
Yeah. You can become, it's like now this is more into mindful living. There's, you know, the concept now, the world is moving towards, the trend is towards mindful living. So
and
we have whole life is a mindfulness session.
Yes, and we have another question all the way from Australia. My good friend Sam. Once practice for many hours, will be possible to be aware of your breath always. Like now, as you said, now when you are at the beginning, you have to consciously focus your mind on breathing. So
yeah.
What he's asking is, after a bit of practice, will that happen unconsciously, that awareness?
Yes, as you saw that, like in the jar also, right? With time, I mean, when your shaking is less, when you tend to move into, like, you know, the stillness. Once you establish a proper practice for long hours, your mind tend to go towards that the whole perspective of yours will change. So it's it's a habitual thing. When your mind get the habit of being still, it will be habitual. So the tendency for wandering will be lesser and lesser with practice. So more you practice, more you will be feel the bliss, like that blissful feeling of not having thoughts.
Right. So with that, we are almost reached the time. So I will finish the Q&A session there. Still keep on typing your questions till we finish. We will be answering all the questions through our WhatsApp group, and let me explain to you what's going to happen next. Is that what we have done is only to scratch the surface of these three areas, right? We can't teach you mind mapping in 15 minutes. We can't teach you mindfulness in 15 minutes. So you have to dig deep. And of course, we are thinking of some solutions for that, some long-term engagements with you, which will come to you shortly. But for the time being, dig deep and go for other resources as well. And we have a WhatsApp group called the LOT Online Participants. The first group is full, 256 participants, and I created the second one as well. So all the first timers who are here will be added to that group. And in that group, I'm going to share the details of the panelists who took part for you to contact. And also the recording, we are recording this, and tonight we will download it and we will share it. We will post it in a YouTube channel and share the link to you through the WhatsApp group. You can have it. And again, next week also this is going to be a weekly session. Next week we are thinking of speaking to you about exams. A-level is coming, the scholarship exam is coming, O-level is coming. It might not be exam secrets, but it will be something to do with how to overcome the exam anxiety, and maybe some specific tools, how to approach a essay question, how to approach a multiple choice question, things like that. So that's the plan for next week. So we will share the details soon. And again, there'll be a feedback form because this program is evolving. We need your feedback to run this, to improve this program. As I said, 7th program, and we don't have any plans to stop it even after the lockdown is over. We will continue this, maybe shift it to a Saturday. We'll continue. So give us your feedback, which is very useful to us. And it will take not more than 3 minutes. Please take your time and fill it up. And finally, I would like to thank the 3 panelists, Dr. Ashwini Abru, Mr. Aruna Dayanatha, and Mrs. Udara Vijayaratna, and our guest, young guest, Tiran Virasinghe, for taking part in this discussion. You added a lot of value to this session, and I hope that and I know that the audience would have the same sentiments to your contribution to this session, and also the participants. Without your participation, this wouldn't have happened. So we have 50 plus participants to start with. So I thank all of you for taking part, and watch out for our future programs, and do stay with us, and keep learning, keep improving, and keep going to achieve a better life. So I will close the session now, and I will kindly request the panelists and the guest to remain after the meeting, just to have an informal discussion. The rest of you, you can, the formal part of the meeting is over. Good night from all of us.